Hello, this is Jeremy Wagner of Daily FX Education, and I'm here to talk to you about how I use the Bollinger Bands in my trading. Now, if you've used market scope charts before, you know that you've got the ability to put tabs, or at least what I'll do is I'll tab my charts at the top. And on one of these charts, I'll keep it on the daily setting, and I'll have the Bollinger Band set at a 20 and 2 level here. And when the market seems to be getting boring, or there doesn't seem like to be a whole lot of trading opportunities going on, then what I'll do is I'll come out here on this tab and I'll zip through all the currency pairs. And there's two specific types of conditions or shapes of the Bollinger Bands that I'm looking for. And for example, let's say that we've got a price trend here that's to the upside. And if I were to throw Bollinger Bands on this, the Bollinger Bands will probably start off and widen out as the volatility increases, and then eventually they'll come together and begin to trade in horizontal fashion. And you can see this is indicative of a range-bound environment because not only are prices moving sideways, not making any net movement or net gain one way or the other, but I've also got my Bollinger Bands. They're also trading sideways. They're also horizontal to each other, and they're parallel to each other. So my Bollinger Bands aren't making any net gain one way or the other either. So this tells me that it's a range-bound type of environment, and if we even carry this out further, I'm going to look for the prices to make their way down to the bottom band. You see, since the direction of the previous trend was up, I'm going to be looking to buy at the lower band. So I'm going to wait for prices to come down the lower band, initiate my long position, and place a stop just below the recent swing low, which would be below this lower band. So that's the first type of trading scenario. Now, on the breakout, let's say we got a similar type of situation, and a lot of times they'll start off in fashion like this. So we get an uptrend, prices begin to trade sideways, and then what'll happen is that these bands will slowly begin to come together. And that will take much longer, and that's usually what you're going to find over the summer, or what I was talking about earlier as far as the mood of the market being a quiet and boring type of situation, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of trading opportunities going on. That's when this tends to occur. And you got to be looking out for it, otherwise you may miss it, because it can be very subtle, and it usually doesn't happen very long. One of the longer standing situations was on the euro dollar, going back in late June and early July of 2009. There was a situation like this on the euro dollar where the bands started to slowly contract, and you'll see that if you put that out there. So when I see the bands coming together, meaning the distance between the upper band and the lower band is beginning to shrink, then that indicates the potential for a looming breakout. You see, just like if you were to take a spring and push your thumb down on the spring and let go, and then the spring will pop. That's the same type of situation with the Bollinger Bands, where the Bollinger Bands act like that spring. And so when they start to compress, that tells you volatility is dying down, and then usually breakouts is when we see an expansion of that volatility. So in this situation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out, I'm going to change my setting over to a 20 period simple moving average and 1 standard deviation. Essentially what that's going to do is that's going to put the Bollinger Band tighter in on the price. And so at this point, I'm going to wait for my price to reach my upper band on a breakout type of trade. And a lot of times what I've seen happen here as well, and you got to watch out for it, is when these bands compress together, a lot of times you'll get a head fake in one direction only for it to break out in the other direction. So be wary, be mindful of prices coming down and doing a head fake and then bouncing up from there. So that's how I trade using Bollinger Bands, and I want to wish you the best of luck in your trading as well.